Have you ever wondered why some people seem to bounce back from any challenge, while others crumble under the slightest pressure? I used to think that resilience was something innate, that some people just had this character trait, tenacity, grit, fire, while others just had to survive. But I was wrong. Resilience isn't a gift, it's a skill. And like any skill, it can be trained, sharpened, forged in the fire of daily life. Today, I'm breaking down 8 essential habits that have helped me build a resilient mindset, not just to survive the storms, but to walk through them with my head held high. Let's dive into the first one. This habit alone changed the trajectory of my life. 1. Own your inner dialogue. The battlefield of resilience starts in the mind. Every man faces challenges, but it's the story we tell ourselves that determines whether we rise or fall. I had to face the hard truth. Most of my limitations were born from my own words. I'm not good enough. I always mess up. Sound familiar? I started paying attention to the way I spoke to myself. Every time I caught a negative thought, I challenged it. Is that actually true? More often than not, it wasn't. I began replacing self-doubt with self-command. Instead of saying, I can't handle this, I started saying, this is tough, but I've handled worse. That small shift created a mental ripple effect. My mind went from being my enemy to my ally. 2. Embrace discomfort. Daily comfort is the enemy of growth. The moment life gets too easy, we stop evolving. I used to avoid discomfort like the plague. Cold showers, no thanks, difficult conversations. I'd rather keep the peace. But growth demands friction. It demands resistance. So I made a decision. Every day, I would do something that made me uncomfortable. Sometimes that was physical, a brutal workout or a freezing plunge. Other times, it was emotional, telling the truth even when it hurt, or setting a boundary where I used to stay silent. The more I leaned into discomfort, the less power it had over me. I stopped running. And that made me mentally tougher than I ever imagined. 3. Build the discipline muscle. Motivation fades. You can't rely on inspiration to carry you through hard times. What you can rely on is discipline. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like doing it. I used to wait for the perfect mood to act, to train, to focus. But moods are fleeting. Discipline is forged in routine. I built structure into my days, waking up at the same time, tackling the hardest task first, training when my body screamed for rest. That structure became freedom. Discipline gave me consistency, and consistency gave me results, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. 4. Develop emotional agility. Resilient men don't suppress their emotions. They master them. There's this idea that being mentally strong means being emotionally numb. That's false. True resilience means feeling deeply without being controlled by those feelings. I used to bottle things up. Anger, fear, guilt, but it always exploded in the worst ways at the worst times. What changed everything for me was learning to sit with my emotions without judging them. To say, I feel angry right now without punching a wall. Or I feel afraid without running away. I started journaling, reflecting, getting curious instead of reactive. And what I found was this: emotions are messengers, not enemies. And when you understand their message, you gain control over your inner world. 5. Ruthlessly audit your environment. Your environment is shaping you, whether you realize it or not. I looked around at my life and asked a hard question. Are the people, the habits, the content I consume, are they making me stronger or softer? I had to cut some things loose. toxic relationships, energy-draining habits, voices that whispered self-doubt into my ear. I replaced them with men who challenged me, books that sharpened me, routines that built me instead of breaking me. You become what you surround yourself with. If you want a resilient mind, you need a resilient environment. 6. Create a purpose that's bigger than pain. Pain is inevitable. But suffering without meaning, that's a slow death. One of the most powerful shifts I made was anchoring myself to something bigger than the pain. A mission, a purpose. When you have a why, you can endure almost any how. I started asking myself, why am I doing this? Not just when things were easy, but when things got dark, when failure knocked me down, when grief hit like a freight train. I needed a reason to get back up, and I found it in the people I love, in the man I'm becoming, and in the legacy I want to leave behind. Resilience is rooted in purpose. Without it, we break. With it, we bend, but we don't shatter. 7. Train your nervous system to stay calm under pressure. When life punches you in the face, your body reacts before your mind can catch up. Heart races, breath shortens, you feel out of control. That's your nervous system hijacking the moment. But here's the truth, you can train it. You can teach your body how to stay grounded in chaos. I started using breathwork daily, not just in moments of stress, but as a practice. Deep, slow breathing, especially through the nose, helped me regain control when everything felt like it was slipping. And it wasn't just breathing. I also began exposing myself to controlled stress, like cold plunges and intense workouts, and practiced staying calm in the middle of it. Over time, my baseline shifted. What used to trigger panic now barely moved the needle. Your nervous system is your foundation. When it's stable, your mind follows. 8. See failure as a crucible, not a curse. Most men fear failure like death. I used to be one of them. I thought failure was proof that I wasn't enough, that I didn't have what it takes. But I've failed more times than I can count, and every single time, it taught me something my victories never could. Failure is a crucible. It burns away the illusions. It humbles you, sharpens you, rebuilds you. If you let it, the key is to reframe it. I stopped asking, why did this happen to me? And started asking, what is this teaching me? And you know what? That shift changed everything. I started to embrace failure like a coach, not a curse, like a forge, not a grave. Resilience isn't about being unbreakable. It's about becoming unshakable. And once I started living by these habits, daily, consistently, no matter what, I realized something powerful. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was leading myself, becoming the man I always knew I could be, but never had the tools to become. But building a resilient mindset doesn't mean you'll never feel weak or lost or uncertain again. It means you'll be able to keep moving forward, even when the road disappears beneath your feet. Let me take you deeper into the mindset shifts that made the biggest difference for me, especially when life hit the hardest. You're not your thoughts. You're the one watching them. This realization cracked something open inside me. I used to identify with every thought that came through my head. If my mind said, you're failing, I believed it. If it whispered, you're not ready, I stopped trying. But one day, I realized if I can observe a thought, I'm not the thought itself. I'm the witness, the observer. That changed everything. It gave me distance, a moment of pause. Instead of reacting on autopilot, I learned to respond with awareness. I started practicing mindfulness, not as a trend, but as a mental discipline. I sat with my thoughts. I watched them rise and fall like waves. Some were brutal. Some were kind. but none of them defined me. That space, that stillness, is where real power lives. Resilience requires recovery. I used to glorify grinding. No sleep, no rest, always pushing, always forcing. But that mindset burned me out faster than anything else. I learned the hard way that recovery isn't weakness, it's wisdom. You don't build strength in the gym, you build it in recovery. The same goes for your mind. If you're constantly operating at max capacity, eventually something breaks. And usually it's you, so I started prioritizing sleep. Real sleep. Blackout room, no screens, deep rest. I incorporated solitude into my week, even just 15 minutes a day of pure silence. I scheduled recovery like I scheduled work. And over time, I became sharper, more present, more energized, more resilient. Rest isn't quitting. It's reloading. Control the controllables. Release the rest. One of the most mentally liberating habits I've ever adopted is radical focus on what I can control. Not what might happen, not what others think, not what the world throws at me, just my part. In chaos, this mindset is a lifeline. When I lost a business deal that I'd poured my soul into, I spiraled. I blamed everything, the economy, the client, the timing. But blaming didn't change reality. It just drained my energy, so I shifted focus. What can I control right now? My attitude, my response, my next move. That shift brought peace in the middle of chaos, and peace is a weapon. In the modern world, a calm man is unstoppable. Keep promises to yourself. This one hit me like a punch in the gut. I used to make promises to myself and break them all the time. I'll start Monday. I'll quit tomorrow. Just one more time. And every time I broke those promises, I chipped away at my self-respect. One day, I asked myself, if I can't trust myself, who the hell can I trust? So I started small. Micro-promises. I'll drink a full glass of water first thing. I'll finish this workout. I won't check my phone before 9 a.m. And I followed through, no matter what. Every win, no matter how small, was a brick in the foundation of trust. I stopped negotiating with myself. I became the kind of man whose word, even to himself, meant something. That internal integrity. That's where true resilience lives. Use pain as fuel, not proof. Pain doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're being shaped, sculpted, tempered. Every time I went through something brutal, heartbreak, betrayal, loss, I asked myself one question. How can I use this? Not why me, but what now? And the answer was always this. I can let this break me, or I can let it build me. And the choice, it's always mine. Some of my greatest breakthroughs came on the other side of pain. Not despite it, but because of it. Pain wakes us up, strips away the unnecessary, forces us to confront the truth. If you meet it head-on, with courage and awareness, it can become the very thing that forges your strength. Gratitude is a warrior's weapon. Most men think gratitude is soft, passive, something you do when life is good. But let me tell you, gratitude, practiced in the middle of the storm, is a weapon. I'm not talking about some fake smile while everything's burning down. I'm talking about finding one thing, just one to be thankful for, even when you're on your knees. A lesson, a moment of clarity, a breath. That kind of gratitude builds perspective, and perspective builds strength. It doesn't mean denying your pain, it means anchoring to something deeper than it. Every morning, I write down 3 things I'm grateful for. Some days it's big, some days it's basic. But that act, it recalibrates my mind, keeps me grounded, keeps me human. Final thoughts. Here's the truth. Life's going to test you. Sometimes gently, sometimes violently. You can't control the waves, but you can build the kind of mind and heart that doesn't get swept away. These 8 habits, they're not magic, they're not theory, they're choices, daily choices. And each one moves you closer to the man you were meant to become, focused, grounded, powerful, unshakable. So I want to ask you something. Which of these habits are you already practicing? And which one do you need to lean into more right now? Drop it in the comments. Let's talk about it. Because resilience grows faster when it's shared. If this video hit you in the gut, in the heart, or somewhere deep in between, do me a favor. Click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with those who need to hear it. You're not weak because you struggle. You're strong because you keep showing up. And the fact that you're here, listening to this, tells me one thing: you're not done yet. And neither am I. Let's keep building.